Hey everybody, welcome back to Budgies. Today we got a very special video for you. We're going to give you a 5-minute crash course in the basics of playing the game Warcaster Neo-Mechanika. This is a game from Privateer Press. They are the makers of War Machine, Horse, Riot Quest, and a bunch of other games as well. It came out earlier this year. It is in its first Kickstarter or the Kickstarter for its first expansion right now. There will be a link in the description below if you want to get in on this. It also just hit retail stores a few days ago, which is where I picked it up. Very excited for this. So what I'm going to do over the next 5 minutes is I'm going to explain to you just kind of how this game works so you can help decide if this is the game for you. So whether you're brand new to tabletop wargaming or you're just curious about this game in particular, please sit back and enjoy Warcaster Neo-Mechanika in 5 minutes. Warcaster is a tabletop miniatures game where players compete for objectives using the rival forces from the science fiction setting that Privateer Press's Neo-Mechanika. These miniatures include squads, which are small groups of 3 miniatures, solos, which are powerful individual characters, and warjacks, giant machines of war equipped with all manner of devastating weaponry. These armies clash over a tabletop battlefield scattered with terrain, typically 3 to 4 feet square. The game itself is split into 3 pulse rounds, each of which is made up of 5 player turns. Once each player has taken 5 turns, the pulse round ends. This is when objectives are scored and the next pulse round begins. On each player turn, they may activate 1 unit and up to 1 additional solo character. Models which are activated are allowed to move once and attack once in any order they choose. Models may move up to their speed in inches as indicated on their playing card. After a model has finished its activation, both moving and attacking if possible, it is given an activation token to indicate that it is done and cannot act again until the next pulse round. When a player's turn begins, if all of their models have activation tokens, they are allowed to remove all of these tokens and begin fresh. When a model is chosen to attack, the controlling player selects one of that model's weapons to use. Attacks are resolved by comparing the attacking model's stat, melee or ranged attack skill, against the defending model's defense, with each player rolling that number of action die and comparing the results. In this example, the attacking model has a melee skill of 4, and so rolls 4 action dice, each of which will show 0, 1, or 2 strikes. In this case, a total of 3 strikes. The defender, with a defense of 2, rolls 2 action die, and only shows 1. If the attacker's total is greater than the defender's, the attack hits. The attacker then makes a damage roll, rolling 1 action die for each point of power for that weapon, plus a devastating power die for each point by which they beat the defender's defense. In this example, the fusion glaive has a POW of 5, plus 2 red power die for beating the defender by 2 on the previous roll, yielding 8 strikes. The defending model takes 1 point of damage for every number of strikes equal to its armor statistic. So in this case, the Marauder has an armor of 4 and took 8 points of damage, so it will lose 2 of his 3 health. A model with no more health is removed from the battlefield, but it is not destroyed permanently. It is placed to the side in reserves and is available to be summoned back to the battlefield through the use of void gates, which we'll discuss later on. Now the key resource in Warcaster is called Arcanescence, or Arc, and each player has 7 Arc tokens which make up their pool, or Arc Well. During their player turn, before they activate the models, an active player can charge a unit or a void gate by adding a single Arc token to the selected unit, or remove any amount of Arc and return it to the player's well. A unit which currently has an Arc token is said to be charged, which allows it to add power die to its melee and ranged attacks, and also enables it to use special abilities, such as this Warjack, whose melee weapons increase range while it is charged. A unit may also spike or expend an Arc, returning it to the player's well, in order to use other abilities, such as the Refractor Field on this Warjack. It can spike and remove its Arc in order to re-roll a defense roll. Void gates are placed as one of the final phases of a player's turn, and can be summoned within 5 inches of a friendly unit, and bring up to 5 Arc tokens from the player's well onto the field with it. On following turns, the Void Gate can expend this Arc in order to summon a unit equal to the unit's deployment cost. In this example, a Void Gate with 3 Arc is able to summon a unit with deployment cost 1 and another with deployment cost 2 onto the battlefield, at the end of which its Arc is expended and the Void Gate collapses. Finally, as the Warcaster, you have access to a deck of Cipher Cards, which can create a variety of special effects on the tabletop, such as giving your models additional cover, enhancing their attacks, or directly striking the enemies themselves. Each player maintains a hand of 5 randomly selected cards called the rack. Up to 1 Cipher card can be played before activating your model for the turn, another can be played after activating models, and 1 may be discarded before redrawing back up to 5 at the conclusion of your turn. So for those keeping score at home, here is the full player turn. You begin with charging a unit with Arc if you wish, playing a Cipher card. You can then activate units of your choice, play another Cipher card, then deploy new units through a Void Gate, place a Void Gate if you are able, and then finally discard a Cipher card and draw back up to 5. After that, turn it over to your opponent and game on. So there is a lot more to Warcaster than just what we covered in the last 5 minutes. But those are kind of the basic fundamentals on which the game is built and should help to give you an idea of whether or not this game is right for you and get a feel for kind of how the mechanics of it work. Once again, if this video has piqued your interest, I will be putting a link to the Kickstarter below. That has until November 6th, I believe, if you want to get on that. Otherwise, look for the boxes to start showing up at your friendly local gaming store in the immediate now time. If you want to see more Warcaster stuff here on War Budgies, I would be down for that. If you're interested, drop a comment below, let me know. And until then, War Budgies out.